The OSP Matrix is a knife that does not exist anymore because OSP basically went under, took on a bunch of pre-orders, could not fulfill them. But the OSP Matrix also comes in variants, and this here is a variant. It is the weight reduction model, and you can tell that it's the weight reduction model because of these holes that have been carved out of the handles. There's only 8 of these, and this one is number 6, I believe. It's on one of these handles. Point is, uh, also this is the textured version, and this blade, this interesting Tanto, is by Doyle Knives. Uh, so, also it has like these weird proprietary screws that you need a specific spanner for. That's just a little annoying. But then you have like T6, I think, T8. Doesn't really matter. And I think this is an aluminum spacer. Otherwise, it would probably be anodized. So this knife also retailed for a cool $900 when it was new. And I did not pay that much. But this is technically, I think, the second most expensive knife that I own, if you were to go by MSRP. And the question is like, is this worth it? That's a hard question to answer because one, any knife that costs that much money. Whoa, my son, I am literally flipping a knife. Oh my god, I love you. You're so dumb. Sorry if he causes the microphone to peak. Anyways, this knife is very odd. It's good and it's fun, but it's odd. The biggest thing that I want to point out is that the weight distribution is strange. A lot of knives will be evenly distributed throughout, or they'll have some ass weight and maybe some tip weight. And the Matrix, at least this version of the Matrix, the weight reduction model with aluminum spacers, is textured. I don't think the texture affects the weight, but the bulk of the weight is in the pivots. The weight center is like in the pivot, which is not that common, and it's a little handle bias. Fans really nicely. Palm fans amazingly. Even my idiot ass can palm fan real smooth on this. And I was wondering if the tip weight was, if there was like a lot of tip weight. Not particularly. The blade has enough weight, a substantial amount, but it is definitely handle bias, without feeling like the freaking Phi, where the blade was just like useless, impossible to flip. There is, I guess, a little bit of weight when you fan. There's a little bit of weight that pulls down on the tip, but mostly it sits in the pivot. And so the center of gravity is like focused around here in a way that feels very odd. Not bad. Odd. Fuck. So, this knife has different variants. There are other Tantos that I think OSP himself did, and there are Bowie knives, and there are versions that don't have texture milled in, and I have seen wildly different prices. What does the Matrix fucking cost? I don't fucking know, but I'm gonna go off the fact that its MSRP is $900, and the fact that this particular model is pretty rare. There are only 8. Because of its unconventionality, it is not something that I would necessarily be like, I'm gonna sink $1,000 into. I wanted one because I thought the handles look cool. I think this Tanto looks really cool, by Doyle. I'm saying it extra times because I forgot to mention it last time. And I'm happy to own it, but I have, to be honest, thought about trying to sell it because it's a substantial amount of money, and rent. There are also other grails that I've been interested in. I tried a DCB Genesis once, and I was like, wow, this is really good. I am interested in trying other things. I want a Phobos, but they're hard to get your hands on. This knife is relatively easy to fan. It's just interesting. And rollovers feel weird because, again, instead of any of the endpoints here or here, it's in the pivots, which is the part that axles along your finger. So a rollover feels weird in that your weight is close to your finger opposed to penduluming around it, which is an interesting feeling. Again, not bad. Some people might just fucking hate it. I love unique stuff. I like rare stuff. And I like aesthetic stuff. And I think this fits the bill for all three. It is rare and weird and pretty. It's got a nice anodization of purple and gold. Is it a competitive flipper? No. I'm just gonna straight up say it's not a competitive flipper. But it's interesting and I like it. And it is strange, and if you like to palm fan, boy howdy, does this knife palm fan like no other knife. For me, I find it hard because a palm fan, while a regular fan, you use the momentum to carry through the motion, and you try and use that momentum to balance out the handle and the blade. Just doing a standard fan, it will show you that it's handle biased, but also that you'll feel it swivel around the pivot more so than a lot of other knives where you might feel a wobble. It doesn't feel like a wobble as much as like a pinwheel, like this, but also this motion. So instead of just going like this is such a silly feeling. Instead of just doing this, you're getting like this sort of pinwheeling motion. I feel very silly doing that. Point is though, it feels slightly different to do a standard fan, and if you were to do a helicopter fan, you'll feel that wobble a little bit. And it's not like a standard handle bias too, where you feel like the momentum of the handle pulling you down. It's more like, I don't know, it just feels like it's seesawing in a way, like that feels intentional, even though it's like not. However, I find that a lot of times when I try and transition to palm fans, the motion is hard because usually the handle wants to swing all the way back, and then you don't get a clean palm fan because you can't rotate it cleanly on this axis anymore. I find that a lot of times when I'm trying to do a palm fan, you have a fan that wants to go all the way to your knuckles and you can't get a clean rotation. Or it doesn't quite clear. Usually though, it's more like this. However, because all the weight is in the pivot side, where it's the center of axis of rotating. A lot of times, sometimes it'll end up like this, and then you can't really get a clean palm fan like this because then all this weight is down here instead of the counterbalance of the blade to keep that momentum going. However, I find that because of the way this is designed and the way the weight balance is, it feels so easy to palm fan. And you can go back and forth in a way that I find particularly nice. So that's just something that I think is particularly cool and nice about this knife that no other knife feels like. And that's just the OSP Matrix, baby. So yeah, this knife is a knife that is odd and unusual. And if you see one in the market and you want to try something odd and unusual, I cannot speak for the Bowies. I have never flipped a Bowie. Well, I've never flipped an OSP Matrix Bowie. And, this is the weight reduction model, which honestly doesn't even reduce the weight that much as far as I can tell. It's like maybe a couple hundredths or tenths, whatever. It's 0.0, I think it's 0.05 ounces or something like that. So it's like not even like a crazy amount. Like I feel like the Alpha Beast being like 5 point something, and then the Infinity Alpha Beast being like 4.3 is like, oh wow, that's a huge difference. With the weight reduction model here, it's not nearly as different. Anyways, that's kind of all I have to say about the OSP Matrix. I think it's neat. I don't know if I will keep it forever. I don't plan on getting rid of it now, but compared to some of my other knives, I'm not like, this is the knife. It's more of a weird off kilter knife that I flip sometimes to get a change of pace. I'm rocking the fucking monitor, having my elbows on the desk. So that's all I got to say about this bad boy. If you like these videos, subscribe, like, and comment. If you have any thoughts about other versions of the Matrix, let me know, because I certainly don't know. And check out the other video I did where I unboxes, and check out the coffee in the description, because you can throw a couple bucks my way, like $3 to $5, and that'll help me keep the channel alive. And I do daily uploads, so it's a bit of work to keep it up. So thank you for tuning in, and have a good one, and happy flipping.